We do have to wrap up real quick. We've got some breaking news going on right now.
We do indeed. This is major. I-94 at Wyoming, the eastbound side, completely shut down because of this tanker fire. It's shut down in both directions right now. This semi caught fire about 10 minutes ago, and as you can see, it is a raging inferno. The smoke's so thick it's cutting down visibility on both sides of the expressway. East side impassable, west side now impassable because of the heat and the smoke. This will close I-94 for hours. So if you've got a loved one who uses this on their evening commute, let them know that this could very likely shut down that freeway for our evening drives home. It appears that this was a semi that hit what appears to be a sedan there, and there was a T-bone accident when somebody went out of control. We hope that everybody got out of that okay. If they don't, those are intense flames and smoke.
Yeah, I know. You have to imagine that this is going to take some time, obviously, to find out exactly what caused this. Again, if you're just joining us right now, we have breaking news into our newsroom. You're looking at video from Sky 4 flying above the scene of I-94. We are being told it is closed at Wyoming in Dearborn due to a massive truck fire. We don't have word yet in terms of how that truck driver is doing at this hour.
That is an exit ramp, I believe, to Wyoming Road. It would be near the Wyoming Road exit. This is in the eastbound lanes of I-94. But also the westbound lanes, not just involved because there's a vehicle burning in them, but also because of the heat and the smoke that's involved in this. And we can now see it's also still going up the embankment there. It's rekindled on the embankment, a grass fire underway there.
Now, when you mentioned the smoke, we have a different shot, and I don't know if our control room will be able to take that. We have it from downtown. Oh, my goodness. Okay, yeah, there you see. So you can see how far that you can see this smoke billowing. This is from one of our sky cams in downtown Detroit, and as you look west, you can see that smoke billowing from that truck fire / explosion. We don't know exactly what happened on I-94 in Wyoming, but it is filling the sky, filling the screen here from miles and miles away. As we just said, some fire crews have just arrived on the scene to battle this blaze. But as we reported a few years ago, you know, when we had this truck, the situation on I-75 and 9 Mile, this isn't something that is solved quickly. And obviously, you need to take into consideration the flammables that may be on board, and that is always perhaps a hazmat situation there.
Stand by, Chief. Let's go to Steve Garagillo, who's standing by live alongside that expressway. Steve?
Hey, Guy, I'm going to step out of the way so you can see what our view is. We're down along the service drive here at the expressway, and new fire, which I'm sure you're getting a great view from the chopper. We just heard another explosion maybe 2 minutes ago, and a lot more flame coming from that area. Police have shut off everything around here. I-94 shut in both directions. Wyoming closed down. And really, those fire crews on the freeway working it, everybody else just stepping back. There are 2 gas stations up here on the service drive very nearby. No threat to them, apparently, but this is obviously a big fire, and this is going to be closed down for a while. There's another explosion we just heard right now. So there's something down there still volatile because they're keeping fire crews back. They're shooting from a long distance because every few minutes we hear another explosion.
This freeway will be shut down at least until 6 o'clock this evening.
Let's bring in Lieutenant Topolsky, if we can, from the Dearborn Police Department. He is there on the scene, I believe, Lieutenant, with the latest information in terms of what your department is dealing with right now. What's the latest?
Well, I'm not actually at the scene. I'm in at the police station. I can pretty much see the smoke from the office here, but Michigan State Police is going to be handling the investigation. Our department will be assisting them, of course. Their hazmat teams also on the scene or en route. So other than that, all we have right now is minor injuries, believe it or not. And
who had those minor injuries?
You know, I'm not sure. I know that the driver of the truck is still at the scene, I believe, and I think the other car or maybe secondary accidents might have hit drivers that sustained some minor injuries, and they're on the way to the hospital now.
Lieutenant, do we know that there's a vehicle on the westbound side of 94 that was completely destroyed by fire? And I got to tell you, your heart stopped when we saw it a half hour ago because, God forbid, if anybody was inside it. To your knowledge, everybody in that car got out okay as well?
That's correct. To my knowledge, there are just minor injuries in this. It appears that people luckily had time to get out before the fire started. And I've talked to our dispatch a couple times already, and as far as we know, they're just minor injuries at the time.
Well, thank goodness for that.
We'll have you stand by real quick, if you don't mind, Lieutenant. We want to bring in Jason Colthorpe. He's on the scene now and talking with witnesses who actually heard the first big explosion. Is that correct, Jason?
That is right, and we're at the corner of Michigan and Miller, and Oakland, by the way, is one of the main streets where they're diverting traffic. Traffic backed up in a lot of different directions, and as we look down Michigan, the smoke not nearly as thick as it was a few moments ago, and of course, right after this happened. I want to bring in Danny Karaki, who was working right over here at Danny's Auto Service, and you heard it when it happened. What did you hear?
I heard a big explosion. And even the car, the one on the hoist, shake a little bit. Then I went outside, ran outside to figure out, and I saw the smoke coming out of the west side of Michigan Avenue down there.
Let's bring in Rob Morosi from the Michigan Department of Transportation, who can now kind of address the issue of the interstate, the safety of the interstate, and how long we're going to deal with a shutdown. Good afternoon, Rob.
Good afternoon, Karen. Yeah, boy, it's an unfortunate situation. It really does bring back a lot of memories to 2009 at 75 and 9 Mile. But right now, at this time, we're in a holding pattern, and there's a protocol, obviously, allowing the fire department to do their job, to get the fire extinguished, and once they clear the scene for us to get in and do some assessments, we'll get in there and check on the pavement condition as well as the bridges. Don't know how long this freeway is going to be shut down, but I can pretty much guarantee it will not be open for the evening rush hour. So anyone that needs to use I-94 to either get home from work, maybe work an afternoon shift, maybe get to the airport or home from the airport, they're going to have to find alternate routes to get around this mess.
Well, and the alternate routes are going to be crowded as well, so you're going to want to leave a lot of extra time.
If we could take a split screen right now, you can look on the left side of your screen and you'll see a little bit of what it looked like earlier. That was the car that was on 94 eastbound headed to the city. We just moved the shot there quickly. That's what the truck looked like a little bit earlier. If I had to guess, it would probably be around the 11:30, 11:40 time period when that thick black smoke was just pouring out of the truck. Flames were everywhere. At that point, folks didn't exactly know what was inside that truck. Local 4 defenders tell us they've learned it was petroleum. It is a truck from Rex Carriers out of Romulus. The truck driver did survive. We're getting reports from local police departments that there are only minor injuries, which truly is a miracle to report it. When you take a look at your screen, something like this, your just heart breaks wondering exactly what happened. You can look also on your screen, Guy, you were mentioning that yellow car that was traveling eastbound headed to downtown Detroit, I'm sorry, westbound, headed out of the city, and you could imagine he just went up the embankment because, or she,
we're out of here,
thinking, oh my goodness, I've got a fiery and blaze headed my way and I got to get out of here.
It is an amazing scene there, and if you get into the minds of the people that were traveling what is a normally busy freeway at 11:15 on a Wednesday morning and cruising along, and all of a sudden you've got this ball of fire, and from the looks of things, liquid spilling right and left. Rex Carriers, we should tell you, checking their website, and this is all easily obtainable information on the internet. They carry cargo, general freight, liquids and gases, non-hazardous liquids. If this was on I-75, you could make a safe assumption that it might be going to one of the refineries that's along in there. But with I-94, it's hard to say where they're headed.
And oh, that's the scene right there, topside.
How about that? Yeah, a couple of things that we have to consider with the wind. First of all, a weak little cool front came through right as this accident happened, a little after 11 a.m. and we were looking at 10, 15 mile an hour winds. Nothing huge, nothing dramatic, but it certainly fanned and fueled the flames. Right now, we're seeing wind speeds anywhere between 7 and 10 miles an hour at the surface. And when you get higher up in elevation, the winds take on a little bit stronger character. So we're starting to see some of the winds on the top side of this fire that are a little bit stronger, maybe in that 15 to 20 mile an hour range. And certainly the heat created from this fire also enhances the wind. Just that heat and the wind, in addition to the height of some of that smoke, is blowing a lot of this smoke into the downriver community. So if you're watching us in Melvindale, Ecorse, you're in Allen Park, downriver, you might start to smell or see some of this pollution coming straight from this fire.
It's a tanker and it keeps exploding, and it's a tanker and 3 cars. 1 car flipped over.
Inferno on I94.
It struck into the median in between. It went over it and it wound up going into the westbound lane. And obviously caught on fire.
Fuel ignites into flames on one of the area's busiest freeways. Incredibly, there is no loss of life, but the damage is throwing a wrench into the evening commute. And topping our news at 5, you're looking at live pictures from Sky 4 above the scene near I94 and Wyoming. As you can see, there's still quite a lot of cleanup to be done.
And as we hit the 5 p.m. hour, if your evening commute takes you through Dearborn, you need to look at what is happening here still on eastbound I94. We're glad you're with us. It has been closed now since a tanker burst into flames near Wyoming Avenue late this morning.
And in the minutes ahead, we'll have live reports on the efforts to clear the freeway and get it back open, the best ways around the mess, and the trouble it caused for many Metro Detroiters who were stuck in traffic behind the wheel or behind the wreck as well. Let's begin with Sean Lay and the timetable for getting the freeway back open. Good evening, Sean.
It's going to be a while, Carmen. Big time damage to the freeway down behind me. Just got an update from Michigan State Police. Right now, they're getting conflicting statements from the drivers involved in this crash. Much more investigation into what caused the crash will have to be done. Behind me here, the work continues. You can see big wreckers here trying to hoist up. And just in the last few seconds, they hoisted up the trailer, the tanker here that was fully loaded with diesel fuel and gasoline. Now, just a charred mess. 2 Boulevard and Trumbull cranes now hoisting it off the freeway. So we're getting a better idea of the cleanup here. And now tonight at 5 o'clock, we're getting a much more clear idea of how badly I-94 through this stretch was damaged by the heat caused by this massive tanker fire. From Sky 4, a remarkable view of a tanker on fire and all of the dangerous aftermath. From the ground, cell phone video of that fire and the smoke that could be seen for miles. Ron Thomas was driving the tanker fully loaded with 6,800 gallons of gasoline and 5,800 gallons of diesel fuel. He tells his brother someone cut the tanker off, and when the tanker hit the wall, that tanker split open like a tin can, splashing fuel ignited by sparks. Doug Thomas says his brother saved the driver, whose car was pinned to the front of the tanker.
His hair's burnt on the back, his arms are burnt. I'm gonna go. I'm terrible right now.
Another driver's car behind all of this was splashed by fuel and by fire, and it went airborne.
It struck into the median in between. It went over it and it wound up going into the westbound lane. And obviously caught on fire. And we had to extinguish that and the semi-trailer at the same time.
What's miraculous to everyone out here is that no one was seriously injured, but other drivers behind all of this had to dodge the fiery debris. Now the job is to clean up the fuel left in the tanker and on the freeway and assess just how much damage was done to this part of I-94. Live MDOT just giving me an update on how long I-94 and the eastbound lanes will be closed. Here's the deal. The heat actually broke up part of that new surface down there, so it's going to have to be resurfaced, but they're only going to shut down 2 lanes. The highway will not be shut down while that work continues. As soon as they get all this stuff cleared out of here, they're going to do an assessment and start talking about resurfacing here 2 different lanes, shutting 94 down to 1 lane from Michigan Avenue, which is right around here where I'm standing, down to I-96. So they're going to have to resurface this part, but won't, Devin and Carmen, be closing I-94 once that work begins. It'll be down to 1 lane. Back to you.
Now, Sean, you mentioned that there was a car or vehicle that cut off the tanker. Did the driver get a look at what that car looked like, or even did anybody get a license plate number?
A couple things here. That seems to be the car that may have been tangled up with the tanker in all this. Now, the brother of the tanker driver says it was a clear cutoff. The tanker ended up hitting that car, and then that tanker driver ended up getting out. And while the tanker was on fire, he had just moments to help the driver that he hit, the driver that he says cut him off. But Michigan State Police say they're getting mixed signals here, some mixed information from both of those drivers. Luckily, both were not injured. That's the good news here, but they're getting different stories about who exactly did what. In fact, Michigan State Police tells me the evidence at the scene is conflicting with what both drivers are telling them right now.
All right, so the investigation continues. Sean, thank you for that report.
Let's turn things over now to Ashley Barrissey here with a look at the best ways to get around that stretch of I-94. It's a critical piece if you're coming from the airport, that's for sure, Ashley.
Absolutely, but we do have to be thankful the fact that this is the westbound side that's open, because we're going to see more traffic leaving the city for the rush hour drive. Not as much traffic on that eastbound side, but nonetheless, we are dealing with heavier traffic volumes, and this is going to cause a concern for a lot of drivers that are traveling in between Dearborn and Detroit. So that eastbound stretch of I-94 is closed off at the Southfield Freeway. That's the closure point to Wyoming. Westbound I-94 is open, but 2 lanes are blocked at Michigan Avenue. It'll squeeze down there. If you're going to be traveling east or westbound, you can use Michigan Avenue or I-96 to get around that. And I want to show you one of our 4 live traffic cameras along, this is actually I-94 right near Rotunda. And this is the westbound stretch that is actually closed off. You do see traffic that's coming on from Wyoming, but that eastbound side is westbound side getting by fine. The eastbound side is closed off. So you can see here that we have just that light traffic volumes from the traffic that's coming on from Wyoming. Otherwise, you're going to be dealing with bumper-to-bumper traffic on some of the other area freeways, and that is because a lot of the traffic is having to figure out different ways to go. I-75 at Gratiot, where it connects to 96 and I-94, you're starting to see the heavy backups because I-94 traveling westbound will squeeze down to just a lane or 2 right at Michigan Avenue. Otherwise, you can see the traffic flow map here. This is the closure point along I-94, and that red stretch right here is where it's closed off. But if you're going to be traveling the Southfield Freeway trying to connect to I-94, we're starting to see some orange in that area, meaning traffic is starting to slow down because they don't have anywhere to go if you're wanting to travel along that stretch of freeway. Otherwise, Michigan Avenue is starting to slow down a little bit, but Michigan Avenue and I-96, the best detours, and we're going to continue to update you throughout the 6 o'clock hour. Back to you.
You know, even before there was I-94, you could take Michigan Avenue to Chicago.
Sure, right,
So it's still there. You know, thankfully, no lives were lost in this explosion. Many lives, though, were impacted.
And many were caught in the huge traffic backups that we've been talking about, but others literally felt what happened. Jason Colthorpe, live with some of the stories we're hearing from the drivers who were there. Jason?
Absolutely. And Devin, you know what's just happening right now as we speak? They're loading the rest of what's left of that semi onto a flatbed and just about to haul that out. You can see the charred remains as it's being led away. But yeah, like you said, around this area, there are lots of businesses, gas stations, restaurants. And when this accident happened, so many people heard it immediately and then seconds later felt those explosions one after another. And then, of course, that fire that could be seen for miles became an instant camera phone moment.
You felt it. It's like a little earthquake or something like this.
Danny Karaki had a car up on the hoist at his auto repair shop when the whole place rumbled.
A big explosion. By the time I get to the overbridge right there, overpass, which is 94, right, and I see the semi-truck blowing up. I think it's full of gas.
Martin Smith was about 50 yards away pumping gas when the tanker blew. Moments later, he was rolling his own video.
We could hear the explosions. You could see the flames shoot up. They were probably from ground level. They were probably about another 25 foot, so I guess about 50-foot flames coming from the freeway.
Same goes for many other people working on Michigan Avenue.
And what were you thinking at this point when you had it going?
I hope everybody was okay. At first, I thought it was a gas station.
It left thousands of drivers stuck on the highway, including this man whose day was turned upside down.
I have a meeting at a grocery store here, and my whole day's kind of messed up here. They have the whole highway blocked off. I don't even know why.
Well, Pat, it was because a tanker blew up, but the question now remains how, and you're seeing what's left of it now. How did this blow up? We're hearing how the accident may have happened. One restaurant had a bird's eye view because of the security video. We have gotten our hands on that. We're going to show that to you at 6. It's amazing video of this truck on fire, screaming down the highway. We'll tell you the story of the restaurant, how they stayed calm and tried to take care of all of its customers and get them out safely. That story in the exclusive video coming up on Local 4 News at 6. Guys?
All right, somebody had their Camera's rolling.
Ready. Yep.
Jason, thank you for that report. Our coverage of the I-94 tanker explosion is just getting started. Coming up, with all of that fuel that spilled onto the freeway and into nearby drains, what's the potential impact to the environment, including our water?
Also, what we've learned about the trucking company that owns the tanker, and some are calling it a miracle that no one died or was seriously hurt. How's that possible? Well, you might be surprised by how many things went right today in this emergency.